Creepy dude on the trail. It finally started raining here, so I took my son, 14M, out mushroom hunting over the weekend. It was later than we normally go, and sun goes down much earlier, but we were taking a quick trail to the river and back in hopes to finding turkey tails or chanterelles. We took a wrong turn and ended up going through a big field, which the trail would take us back around to the main trail to the river. As we walked toward the main trail, the last group of people had left, and it was just me and my son. We walked along, and out of a thicket side trail came this weird man. He had a dog with him that was alert at his side. He was staring at us as we walked closer towards him. Then he started waving at us, this really weird, slow wave. I was immediately uncomfortable and goosebumpy, but didn't want to be impolite, so I half-hearted waved back while staring back and telling my son to slow up a little. I didn't want to actually meet up at the junction. After a full minute of us dawdling, the guy slowly turned and began walking down the trail toward the main trail. I was wary walking, didn't want to go too fast, and we stopped to look at some plants, so the guy and dog got further down this trail, which curved to the right and continued on 2 blocks to the junction. I was thinking, if this was a creepy let's not meet, this dude will be waiting around the corner. And sure enough, he was standing at the junction, off to the left and toward the parking lot, and to the right was a 6 trail to the river. Dude was just standing there, with his dog, staring at us, not moving at all. Both my son and I were like, holy shit, WTF, let's keep wide to the right, and saying he looks old, we could run faster than him, and just generally planning for freaky deaky just in case. He kept staring at us, so as we approached, I asked if he was okay, and kept staring back. He was greasy-haired, tiny round glasses, a blue windbreaker, plaid long shorts, about 50 years old. His dog was small beagle mix. He didn't answer me at all, just kept staring. We turned to the right and walked about a block. I had my phone cam facing me, so I could watch him over my shoulder, and the only movement was him slowly shifting his direction to continue staring at us. I didn't say anything else to him. It was moderately unsettling, his stare, made more so by his lack of response, emotionless face, weird tiny glasses, slow wave at us like zombie mfka. He did leave back on our way back. He was no longer standing on the main trail, so hey freaky deaky forest zombie dude, for sure stay in the thickets and let's not meet. Nature Trail Creeper, greetings all. 3 years ago, my friend and I were walking this local nature trail at night. The reason for us being out there so late was to try and get some night vision shots of the local wildlife, deer, fox, groundhogs, possums, etc., with my friend's super fancy, new camera. We are both semi-serious outdoors men. My friend has hiked MT Washington and the Adirondack High Peaks, for example, and we've done extended survival camping trips together, so walking a nature trail bordered by houses and streets was basically nothing for us. As we ambled along, mostly neglecting to take pictures in favor of talking about horror stories and movies in an attempt to creep each other out, a man suddenly walked out of the trees and onto the trail, about 50 yards ahead of us. He was wearing white coveralls that shone in the moonlight. Extremely cliché, I know, but it was dark enough that I couldn't make out his face. Now, there are homeless people that live on this particular nature trail, as it borders a well-trafficked highway that connects 2 large cities. I've met a few of them before, and they were amiable enough, mostly looking to keep to themselves. This guy, though, he just stood there and stared at us. I whispered to my friend that we should probably head back, when this guy charged at us. My friend turned to me and yelled, "Let's get this motherfucker." So we began to run at him. He stopped in his tracks, yelled, and then ran back into the woods. At that point, we both were anxious as hell and jacked up on adrenaline. I grabbed my friend and said, "Let's get the fuck out of here." We ended up running out of the woods through someone's backyard, laughing our anxiety away. We ran all the way back to my car. Neither of us are tough guys, but we are both big goons who aren't much for backing down. Still, I'm glad no one was hurt. No clue what that guy's problem was. Mr. White jumpsuit wearing, nature trail maniac, let's not meet. Don't trust your neighborhood walking trail. So, this incident happened when I was 17 or 18. I was with my friend Dan, just hanging out at my house. It was spring or summer, so the temperature for being outside was nice. So I suggested we take a walk on the trail in my neighborhood, since Dan loves the outdoors. Big mistake. So my house is really close to the beginning of the walkway. We start strolling and talking about our lives, when we see this guy ahead of us with a fishing rod. He was probably in his 20s, 5 feet 10 inches, and had dark hair and glasses. He was walking towards us in the opposite direction, and we assumed he had just tried fishing by the lake that we were headed to at the end of the trail. Right before he passes us, he looks down at the ground and starts mumbling about something, then looks at us awkwardly and says this is a good time for the worms to come out of the ground, since it just rained and all. My friend and I look at each other with sort of a weirded out expression, and said yeah, we kept walking. We've maybe made it 10 steps before we see the guy had turned around and was now following us, going the same direction he just came from. Now of course, this freaked us both out. He had a very intense, socially awkward, creepy vibe to him. My gut was screaming that something was off, so naturally, in a state of panic, I call my dad. I start talking and make it sound like he works for the police, I know. Not the most believable thing, but I was young and full of adrenaline. The guy is still strolling behind us, though he slowed his pace. I hang up, with a very confused dad wondering why I was having essentially a one-way conversation, and we get to the end of the trail. Now let me set the scene here. There's a line of trees on either side of the walkway, with people's backyards on one side, and the side of the lake on the other. Once you emerge, there's an open field with a hill, a canopy sort of picnic table setting, and a slope that takes you to a graveled area where you can sit close to the water. At this point, my friend did not want to stay very long. The guy headed down the slope to the water, where we saw another man in a dark-colored outfit. And I walk up the hill and sit down, trying to get some distance between us. After about 5 minutes, she turns to me and says I'm really uncomfortable with them, they keep looking over at us. I'm pretty oblivious, so I had no idea. There was a construction worker on a crane right nearby, so I felt a little bit safer, but didn't. So we stood up and started to walk the other way home, which is over the hill and onto a road lined with houses, avoiding going in the direction of the slope and trail. The guys see this, and start walking up towards the hill. We see this, and start power walking. They speed up as well. At this point, I'm freaking out, as is Anne, and we start running. They run after us, and after making it down the hill onto the road, we see a man outside of his house on his driveway, about to get in his car. Sir, there's 2 men chasing us, one has glasses. If you see them, please stop them, thank you, I managed to say with labored breath. He nodded and looked very concerned, looking around the bend as we took off running again. I have asthma, and started to wheeze and slow down, and yelled that I didn't have time to stop, and dragged me along. We quickly glanced back and didn't see them, but didn't want to take a chance, so we sprinted back to my house and got to the front door. It was locked, and my parents weren't home. I forgot the key. So we look at each other, terrified, and sit on the porch, as hidden as possible. After about 20 minutes, my mom gets home and we run inside the garage into the house. I didn't go walking on that trail for 2 years, and now I always bring a mail with me, so to the 2 guys who chased me and my friend, let's not meet again.